So this slide talks about the words that could be used for the different operations, right? So for example, when we see the plus sign, we can read it as sum of x and y, but we can also say y plus or x plus y plus x, right? Just to keep it simple. Then we can say y more than x. Note here that it's not x more than y, right? So if I were to say x more than y, I wouldn't be that correct. Let me put it up. Okay, x more, sorry, my nose is itchy. X more than y. So if I say this, I'm not that correct because x more than y will be written as y plus x. So it's the order of the operation, not the operation, it's the order of how the numbers here are placed. It should be switched. However, we know that the addition is commutative. So x plus y is the same as y plus x. But the subtraction, I wanted to say subtract, but the subtraction is not commutative. So if we say y less than x, it means x minus y. So I'm talking about this phrase over here, right? If I'm saying y less than x, I do x minus y. If I say otherwise, I have to switch them. And the subtraction, the difference is not commutative. So that's why I'm paying attention to it right now, so that we will be used to the terminology, right? To how the words are translated into the math. Okay, what I also can say is x is increased by y, right? So x is increased by y. That's okay to say too. Maybe there are some other ones, but I didn't recall them. So if you recall something, then definitely you can add it to this list. Now, check this one out. The straightforward translation of this is x minus y, right? And that's what we used to see. You also can say difference of x and y. And here we preserve the order. So we do them x minus y, right? But that's once again referring to what we had here, the discussion. If I say y less than x, then it's x minus y, right? Now, what we can also say is that x was decreased by y. It goes straight forward as is. And another vice versa. Y is subtracted from x. So y is being subtracted from the x, right? So this is also when we switch them, right? When we do x minus y. We have to be very careful with the order because if we are solving a problem and we cook up the equation, if we don't cook it up correctly, right, we won't get the answer correctly. So that's a big issue with the subtraction and with the division usually. Okay. So we have to be really careful there. Now, with the product, everything is pretty simple. We have the product of x and y, x times y. And another thing that you could probably see, I think we'll see it later on, maybe with the percentages. Sorry, we can say something like 30% of 70. And what we mean there is that letter of, right? It's not letter, but it is the word of stands for the multiplication, right? So 30% multiplied by 70. And we'll have to convert 30% to the decimal form, right? Because we cannot multiply percentages and the decimal numbers. But so whenever we see the word of, it usually means some part of a number, right? And it starts for the multiplication. Now, for the division, we have a little bit more there. For example, we can say quotient of x and y. We can say x divided by y. We can say x over y. And I think these are the three that I usually prefer to use. I do not like to say y into x because sometimes it might be misleading and you might mix them up then, right? So y into x. And the other word per, it's not something that we see very often either, but we can say 5%. So what this per means is it means 5 divided by 100, right? And there are another situations when we would use the word per, right? 5 per 1,000, right? 7 per 13, and so forth. So the word per also denotates the division. But what I want to also show you is that quite often we replace this division symbol with a fraction, right? So what we can say is we have x over y. So this is when it's matching better, right? With the x over y. This is when it's matching better with the per, right? So 5 per 1,000 and so forth. So quite often in some of these, sayings, we do prefer the fractional form to this division symbol. Okay. So all those examples that you saw in the section 3.1 were working with the examples where you were trying to rephrase something that is said in English, right? So the sum of 5 and 8 into the mathematical statements. And what the section started off with is the expressions. Later on, it also spread into the case when we have the word is, right? For example, if I say the sum of 5 and 8 is equal to 4, right? Or maybe is x, and so forth. So the word is always stands for the equality symbol. So later on, after you practiced a little bit with just translating the expressions, right, you also got into the equation stuff. And the ultimate goal there is seen in the section 3.2. You're given a word problem and you need to solve it. In order to solve it, you need to set up an equation. That's the very first step we do, right? Like we process the information, we do sometimes rephrase them, you rephrase some statements, it's very useful. And then we set up an equation, we solve it, and then we answer the question. Don't forget the last step, because sometimes the equation we set up is not giving us the final answer. We have to work on it a little bit more to get the full answer. Okay, so let's practice with the translation. I know that you did it with the Zide books, but here you will see, I would say, more complicated examples, definitely in some places. So check these 3 out. I have 6 of them in this exercise number 1, and they are all translating into the expressions. The exercise number 2 will be translating statements into equations, right? So let's begin with this one. I will give you 4 minutes to look at them, to think what would you put as an expression there. And if you can, please put your answers into the chat messages, and then I will work on you, and I will try to show you the technique of juggling, of kind of the strategy. I'd say it's a strategy of parsing these sentences of English. Okay, so let me give you 4 minutes. I'll again, yeah, I can keep the video. I'll stop the video, and then I'll mute myself, and I'll stop the recording or pause it. I will put the answers first. I want you to take a look at them and compare them with the ones that you got, and then I'll go over. And once again, what I will try to do is show you the strategy of how to split them, how to do some of the matchings, so that you could see where to put the appropriate operation. Now, where is my silo? Okay, so for this one, for number 1, the answer would be x times x plus 3. Now, by the way, if you have the answer of this one, although it is still okay to have it, but it's better to have this one, because when you say 3 more than x, it means x plus 3. That's the order of it, right? So once again, this one is okay to have, assuming, hey, after you wrote it this way, you decided to switch the 2 terms. But what I'm afraid of is that you just don't follow the order, right, of how it should be. Okay, now, the answer for the number 2 was a times 2, and then the parenthesis, x minus 3. Now, the answer for the last one was 4x plus 12, right? And I'm not turning my video on because I'm going to put my screen down, so it will be facing the ceiling. But let me now show you the strategy that I find very useful. You start with the operation that you kind of see first. It says the product, right? Now the product usually comes with the and, the product of something and something. So you're looking for this word and, which is the most matching one. And then you mentally do this. So this is the product of that and that. You will not go wrong then here because you will know that this is X, this is times, and this is X plus 3, right? So once again, try to, when you locate the first operation, kind of try to find the split. Where will the times go? Okay. Now, let's take a look at the second one because it also starts with the product of, right? But what we have here is we have two ends. So once again, what we need to do is to find the most matching end for it. So let's look at it. The product of, we could even do the of, right? Of a and twice the difference of x and. So what I'm thinking is that the first and is the one for the split, because if I were to put this one as the second split, as the split, then look at how it reads. What's the first part? A and twice the difference of x, right? And 3. A and twice the difference of x. This word, twice the difference of x, I mean, it's the difference of something and something. So this word difference is inseparable. So if I read it like this being the first part of the product, it doesn't work out. Once again, because what does it mean? A and twice the difference of x. The difference has to have two terms, right? So it's not the second and, definitely. It's the first and is the split. So the product of this and this, right? Okay, this one I can put up right away, right, easily. Now, twice the difference. This word difference, once again, usually has two terms to participate, two participants. Difference of and the other and. So this and belongs to the difference of x and 3, right? So here we go then, twice, and then we put x minus 3. Right? So this is how it works for me. For the sum, it's very similar. I will be also looking for the split. The sum of, once again, the sum has two participants, right? Has two members to participate. So I'm looking for the word and. This is it, right? So this is the first part and this is the second part. 4 times x would be 4x plus 12, right? Let me know if you have any questions.
Well, hey, at least I got the last one right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The last one is actually a cutie. It's a nice one to have. Yeah. Yeah. But it actually, to tell you the truth, it's tough to start with them. It's not that easy to get into the flow of using the strategy. And quite often we find ourselves in situation when it's not clear to us. Well, in the real world, you'll be able to go back to the person you're working with and ask, hey, what do you mean by that? Do you want this to happen first or do you want this to happen first? I'll show you the example. I believe I have it when it's not quite clear what is exactly the order there. So once again, while here we are learning to process them, and yes, we are getting our grades for that, but in the real world, you can always go back to the customer you're working with, right? Like, for example, you're building a model of something, and you can always ask, what do they think about here? What do they want to see? Okay. Okay, so now check these ones out. What I will do is I will do the first level match, and then you will do the rest. So let me read the first one. The product of x plus 3 and a minus 2. The product of x plus 3 and a minus 2. I will do the same match with the product that we did before. I'll find the end. So the product of is here. The word and is the only one here. So, I'm not even hesitating to put it up here. Okay, so this is my split, the product of. This is the first part, and this is the second part. Okay. Now, let's do the next one. Also the split, but I'm doing only the, this first level split, like what's inside you will do yourself. Okay, the quotient. Okay, the quotient of the sum of x and 4 and twice y. What, right? We have two ends. So the quotient of the sum of x and 4 and twice y. Okay, so here is the thing. If I do the cut here, let's read it. What will I have in the first part? I will have the sum of x. What? I mean, where is the second member? Okay, so this split was wrong. I will undo it and I will put it here. That's my split. Now let's read it. The sum of x and 4. Oh, it sounds good, right? And then twice y. Sounds good. Sounds okay. Okay, so that's the split. Now, the next one. 2/3 of. Aha. You know what? This is that word of. Let me circle it off. It stands for the multiplication, right? 2/3. And 2/3, everybody knows that it's 2/3, right? 2/3. Okay, so this is it. It's not two members, right? It's only one. And this will be this part, the only one part. So what we will have to put over here. And don't forget, all those parts we like to put inside parentheses. Right? Sometimes we don't need them. You will see it in the number 5. But quite often we do need those parentheses. So whenever you're treating these parts, put them inside the parentheses. Okay, just guard them with the parentheses. So I'll give you another 4 minutes. This time I will not be giving you more than 4 minutes because I gave you actually more. But I think we will be on a good path here, and it's pretty clear how to work on these questions. So I still want you to work on it. You don't need to put the answers into the chat messages. And in 4 minutes, I will put my answers. And if you have any questions, you'll ask me, okay? Resume the recording and let me put up the answers. So I will not be solving it because I did lay out the plan, but if you have questions, if something is not clear why it is this way, not the other one, then please speak up, okay? So for the first one, I will say x plus 3 times, I'm hiding it, right? A minus 2. I'm not revealing it, not showing it. Now this is the quotient, so I'll immediately put the bar up, right? And I will say sum of x and 4 and then twice y. Now you could do it this way. It's not, it's not prohibited in any way. You could put the division here. In the web work, it will be the slash, right? 2y. Okay. Now what I want to make sure that you do is you put these ones inside the parentheses. This is important, extremely important. And I'll show you why. If you do x plus 4 inside parentheses divided by 2 and then y, what it can be interpreted is that this division happens first and then it's multiplied by y. So in other words, if I rewrite it in this form, it will be x plus 4 over 2 times y. So guess what? It becomes the multiplier of the x plus 4, right? So it's because of the order of operations. The division comes first and then the multiplication, because they have the same, precedence, right? They have the same precedence, but they are done from left to the right. So these parentheses will be actually saving you here from making a mistake. And the web work will also tell you if you were to put the answer without the parentheses, this is how it will interpret it, and it will tell you that you are wrong, right? Because you forgot the order of operations here. You forgot that if you just put the division and then 2y without this parenthesis, once again, without this parenthesis, right? So it's like, you know, what I have over here, and then it's interpreted like this, okay? So it's extremely important to put the parentheses around it. Or once again, you could use the math quill, which will give you this format right away. But it's nice to be aware of this situation, right? Okay, now the last one would be 2/3 times, right? 2/3 times a plus b. A plus b. Okay. So let me know if you have any questions or any concerns. Okay, everybody's doing great. Okay. Now, let's go to the next slide then. I'm cleaning everything up and let's go to the equations. So now we are having equations, so we will be expecting to see something equals to, right? So one thing is equal to the other one. Now the word equations, we are catching, you know, this equality symbol, we are catching by this word is, right? So where is it here? You see we have two is's here, right? So here what we need to understand that this is belongs to is subtracted. So not this one. This is, oh, it says is equal. Excellent, excellent. So this will be standing for the equality symbol, right? So what I'm doing right now is I'm underlining the places where we will have our equality symbol. And then this one, the sum of two unknown consecutive odd integers is. Okay, so here is the word is. Now, the third one is a little bit tricky because they are talking about the two unknown numbers, but they only give the letter for the smallest, right? The smaller integer is denoted by letter A. So what we should see in this equation here is only letter A, right? We can have two appearances of it, three occurrences, you know, it doesn't matter. But it must be only about the letter A. So I want you to try all these three problems. I'll give you 6 minutes to work on them. So 2 minutes for each of them. And I'd like to see what you are getting. Now, does everybody remember what does it mean consecutive? So let's do it before, right, I let you go. Consecutive, what the consecutive means. So if I'm talking about the 2, right, then I can say that it's 5 and 6, or -2 and -1, right, or 3 and 4. So these are consecutive to integers, but they're here talking about the consecutive odd integers. Odd. Odd, it's the ones that are not divisible by 2. In other words, they have remainder, right? So what consecutive odd integers we can think of? We can think of 7 and 9. We can think of 3 and 5, right? So they are odd numbers. They're kind of jumping over. If you put this number line, 7, 8, 9. So from 7 to 9, we are doing 2 jumps, right? 2 jumps to get from 7 to 9. So spend some time on 1 and 2. Put the answer to me if you get anything. And then for number 3, you know, once again, if you get something for me, please send it in. If not, then just wait a little bit, but definitely think about it. What I want everybody to do here is try to approach it first. So then later on, if you got the correct answer, you know, wonderful. But if not, then I will show you how to move on from that, right? How to correct it. Okay, so I'm giving you 6 minutes to work on them, but I'm here so you can ask the questions, and please, please, please put the answers in the chat messages. I really want to see what things you are getting. Once again, I'm not punishing you for anything here, but I do need to see your answers because I need to know what to pay attention to in my explanation, okay? Let me resume the recording and let me put the answers first, right? So that you could compare them with what you were thinking of. So the number 1 would be this one. You see, this 6 less than x would be x minus 6 is, and then 6 more than x. I will put x plus 6. I will not do 6 plus x because, once again, I want to pay a special attention to the order, right, of the operation. 6 more means plus 6. 6 less means minus 6. So I know that some of you made a mistake with doing 6 minus x equals to x plus 6, right? So if we redo it for the word problem, we'll be in trouble then. So be very careful. 6 less than x stands for this. On this note, if you would like to have this first slide for this bunch of slides that I'm using today as your reference, you can print it out, you can copy over on a piece of paper because it actually showed us what should be the order, right, from each of the pronunciation. I'm not flipping to the first slide because I have some things laid out here, but I will point it at the end when we are done with the slides. Now, let's do the second one, just the answer first, right? So this is the answer. Twice a number. They didn't tell us what number exactly, so you could use x there, right? So I would do 2x minus 10 squared is equal to 124. So this was the answer for the item number 2. And once again, for the x, you could use anything here, A, B, C, because they're not saying exactly what number is. You just use the variable. Now, the last one, if you tried to work on it, the answer was this: a plus 2 is 113, right? So you could surround them with the parentheses. That's not a big deal. I usually do prefer to do it. And you could drop them because it's the sum. So the sum, for the sum, we always just drop the parentheses and combine like terms. But don't do any combinings here. So the idea here is just to set up an equation. Then we'll be simplifying it, then we'll be solving it, and so forth, right? Okay, now let me go back to the number 2 and parse it. So what I see is that the square of the result, I'm looking for the cut. Let me use the pink one as I used to use before. The square of the result, and then I'm looking for the split. In this case, the split is usually the word is, right? So this is what it is. The right side is 124 and the left side is this long one, right? That ends up only over here. It's probably easier to show the split over here, right? This is the split. So the split for me now, because we are dealing with the equations, will be for the word is, but inside these long phrases, I could also find my splits, right? So it's the same strategy over here. I'm kind of splitting it into the smaller ones, right? And that's why over here, when I'm setting it up, I would immediately put equals to 124 because it's the easiest to process for me, right? Okay, now 10 is subtracted. So this is my other split. Let me use the orange color. Is subtracted, right? Is subtracted from what, right? So I see 10 is subtracted from, and then I see the second part, twice a number, right? So this is my second part. That's why I will do twice a number as 2x, right? Then minus 10, we follow the order, right? We switch them, and then I square it. So don't forget to use the square. Now in the web work, when you are to put the result in, you could do the following. You will say, I think you don't need to use the star. I think it will understand it, but just in case, 2x minus 10, right? And then don't forget the parenthesis here and then the parenthesis here. And then you will use the symbol carré. It's a carré symbol from the keyboard. It's right above the key with the number 6 on it. Right on top of the 6, you will see it. It's called carré. Carré. Okay. And then I will put 2, and then I will put equals to 124. Once again, the math wheel has them on the side. So you can always use it. And I would highly recommend you using it because it's so convenient, right? So they do have the appropriate symbol here for the power, even maybe for the just square, but definitely for the power. So you'll be able to see it there. Okay. Okay, let me know if you have any questions about the first two problems, because what I want to do for the last one is I want to erase what I wrote so far and put the comments from the scratch. Okay, so let me clear everything up and then let me do, it's like, you know, this one, because I will be able to draw them. Okay, so now once again, what I want to say is that if we are talking about the consecutive odd integers, then 7, 8, 9, this is, for example, will be the two numbers, 7 and 9, right? And what I do here is I jump from here 2 places to the right. Now, if they say that the smaller integer is denoted by the letter A, then here I'm assuming that this is my letter A. This is my number. The problem here is I don't know what the numbers are. Maybe I will find them, right? Maybe I will, maybe I will not. I'm actually not sure that it should be 113 there, but you know, doesn't matter. Maybe actually, I think I have a mistake here and it should have been a product. Okay, but it's okay, it's okay. But now, what can I say about the next number in terms of the A? In order to get the 9, I have to do A plus 2. This is how all these types of questions are answered. You kind of imagine just two particular numbers, right? And then you build the formula for the second one. So you start with the smaller one and you build the formula for the second one. So just imagine that A is 7. 7 plus 2 will be 9, right? And this is what happens when they are consecutive odd. If they were consecutive, just consecutive, right? If they're just consecutive numbers, let's say that it's 7 and 8. If this is A, then the 8 will be A plus 1, right? So then you will be working with these two. It's not related to our problem, but it's a general information for us to use. Okay, and then we put them up as the sum. A plus 2 is equal to 113, right? Something like that. And then we can solve it. And once again, I don't like this number. It's incorrect. I think I made a typo when I was copying it or something, because it doesn't give us an integer solution. But anyway, let me know if you have any questions about this particular problem. No questions, right? Everybody's good. Let me see the chat messages. Okay. So let's clear up all the drawings. And what I want to show us is maybe a couple of the word problems, at least a couple, and then we'll do the third one later on. So this is more like the section 3.2. It's about the word problems. And here I have 3 of them, right? But I would like us to work on 2. And then if we have time, we will work on the third one as well. Usually my approach to it is that I read it first. I see what I'm asked to find. Sometimes I'm told what to use for a variable. Sometimes I'm not. So I'll have to make a decision, right? But definitely quite often I find myself rephrasing some of the statements that we have. So let's start reading. The length of the rectangular pool is 5 meters less than twice the width. If the pool's perimeter is 62 meters, what is the width? Now, if I read it like this, I better draw it, right? Because when the picture is easy to draw, it also helps us a lot. So let's just draw a pool here. Let me do it like this. Okay. So it's a rectangular, right? So we'll put the information in. Now, let's look for the questions. A, write an equation to model the problem. use X to represent the width of the pool. So I will go ahead and will put these X's for the width, right? So this is the width. Solve the equation to find the width of the pool. Make sure to include the units, in this case, meters. Okay, so now what we need to find, and I usually mark it for myself, is the width. We don't need to find the length because quite often these problems ask us to find both. Find the dimensions of the pool, find the width and the length, right? But right now, all I need to do is to find the width. Okay, now I'll go back to the original problem. And what I will do is I will try to incorporate all this information that I have into expressions and equations. For example, I could start with the length, right? Okay, what does it say? What does it say? Length of a rectangular pool is 5 meters less, so it means -5, right? Immediately, 5 meters less, right? So 5 meters less. Then twice the width. So this is the second kind of part, right? Which will be first. Okay, so 5 meters less than twice the width. So I will put the 2x here because x is the width. Okay, so then I have the same thing over here, right? So each rectangle has 2 widths and 2 lengths. Now, do you remember what's the formula for the perimeter, right? What's the formula for the perimeter of the pool? Is when we add up all the sides, or quite often we say that perimeter is equal to 2 widths plus 2 lengths, right? This is also something that we could incorporate. Now, we do know that the perimeter is 62, and all we now need to substitute is for the width, we will use x, right? 2x. And for the length, we will use this expression. So plus 2, and then parentheses, 2x minus 3. Right? So once again, since we know that the width is x, we use x. And since we know that the expression for the length of the pool is 2x minus 5, minus 5. Sorry, 2x minus 5. I just replaced the L with it. Now this method is actually called substitution. I'm substituting the information that I know about the things that come from the formula, right? So it's called the substitution method quite often. But this is our equation. So let's put it up over here. 62 is equal to 2x plus 2 parentheses 2x minus 5. Obviously, we can solve it. And that's what the item B asks us to do, right? So what I will ask you to do, I'll give you 3 minutes to do that. Can you please solve this equation for me and tell me what the x is? Okay, so the idea is to get the value for the x. So can you please tell me what the x is? 3 minutes for you to work on it. I forgot to resume the recording, right? So to this problem, our answer will be 12 meters. But if they were asking us about both the width and the length, we will also provide this number for the length. Everybody's doing good? Okay. So, question first, good. Okay, so let's go back to the next problem. And then we will stop. We'll have our Kahoot quiz. And I don't think that we have time for the third problem to work on today. So check this one out. It sounds complicated, but you will see how easily can it be set up. 400 tickets were sold for a school play. General admission tickets were $3, while student admission tickets were $2. If the total ticket sales were 1,050, how many tickets of each type were sold? And you know what? I think I'm missing a piece of information here, because what I need to know is how many tickets in total were sold. So while you're looking at it, and what I'm asking you to do is try to set up an equation. I will find out, I'll look through my notes, how many tickets were sold for the play. Let me look here. But what I'm asking you to do right now is to establish what will be the unknown. We can have only one variable because the equations we can solve so far are only linear equations. So only one variable we might have. Okay, where was those ticket sales? Yep. So here is the information. The total number of tickets that they sold were 400. 400 tickets. Okay. Oh, here, I missed this information here. 400 tickets because it wasn't written with the numbers, right? 400 tickets. Okay. So this is the piece of information we have. Now, while you're thinking about things, I would like to highlight some of the items here. And I'll use the orange one. Okay. So this is the number of tickets. This is price 1 and this is price 2. This is the total sales. Now what we need to find is how many tickets of each type. Okay, so this will be this one, each type. Each type, okay. Now, just something to start with. If I know, let's say, that the general admission tickets, let's say X of them were sold, right? X of them were sold. Then I know how much money did the school play receive from the general admission tickets, right? So it will be $3 multiplied by X, right? So that's how much money they received from the general admission tickets. Now, from the student admission tickets, they were also $2 each, right? $2, but I don't know exactly how many of them were sold, right? So let's say that there are Y of them were sold, right? Y tickets. So if Y tickets were sold, that if I multiply those Y tickets by $2, that's how many dollars they got from selling the student admission, right? So this is from the student admission. And this is from the general admission, right? General admission. Right? How about that? Now we know that the total ticket sales were 1,050, right? So they did receive $1,000, $1,050 from both sales. So what does it mean? I should add them up and should say that it's equal to 1,050, right? Okay, so it seems like a very, very easy beginning here, right? So $3 multiplied by general admission tickets, how many of them, right? $2 multiplied by the student admission tickets, how many of them, right? And plus adding them up. So it's how much money did they receive? And we know that they received 1,050. Now I cannot solve this equation because it has two variables. This is where the 400 tickets kicks into play. What I can say is that X plus Y, right? If I add up the number of tickets, we're in total 400. And what I can do is I can express one of the variables in terms of the other. I could use this information to get rid, let's say, of Y here, right? So how about saying that if I subtract X from both sides, and we'll get that the Y is equal to 400 minus X. How about using this piece of information instead of the Y here? Once again, it's called the substitution method that we are using here. Quite often we don't even remember the name, but we definitely use it. So once again, what my difficulty was is that I have no idea how to solve linear equations in two variables. I could guess the numbers, but it's tough, right? Especially with this amount. So it's pretty tough to guess them. Now, what I could do is, since I have this extra piece of information, 400 tickets, I know that if I add up X and Y, I get 400. So why don't I solve this fact, right? for the y so that I could replace this y with this information. So here is our connection. We are going to replace, come on, draw. We are going to replace this y with this expression over here. Let's go ahead and do that. So we do $3 times x plus $2 times $402 times 400 minus x equals to 150. We can solve it, especially if we remove this dollar symbol, right? Dollar sign, then it's just a regular equation that we have. And all we need to do is solve it. So take your time. I'll give you, okay, we should be finishing it soon. So I'll give you 2 minutes to work on the solution. Find what the x is. I do have my numbers handy, so we'll be able to check it first. And then together we will answer the question. Okay, so please find me what the x value is. Okay. Right, I know that I forgot to record the solution, right? But it, hopefully the end of it will be okay. Now, 2 pieces of information are about our class homeworks and about test number 1 makeup, because I know that some of you didn't take it and you had your own reasons of why it happened. You were not able to attend our meeting and take the test. So let me start the video and let me switch to our website, okay? Or maybe even, no, maybe not even the website, maybe the calendar I need to show you, but okay, these things go away. So let me just display our schedule. So if you were not able to take the test number 1 and you have a valid excuse for that, preferably documented reason, but I do understand that sometimes you have family emergencies and other issues that you cannot, present the proof of it. So just make sure that you email me and you express me the your desire to take the makeup of the test number 1 and to state your reasons of why you did not take it in the first place. The makeup test is on fixed date and time. It will be this Thursday. So let me scroll up to our test 1, right, that we had on the 17th, and I will put it over here. So the makeup test 1 will be on this Thursday, February, what will be the February? February 25th. So 25th, 25th at 1 p.m. Okay, it will be 1 hour long, like hour long. It will be at WebWork, but you will have the same conditions. So you will have to connect to the Zoom meeting. You will have to turn your video on. So connect to Zoom meeting, turn your video on. Now, for the future, some of the people either couldn't turn their video on this time or just forgot it and something. And although I sent the reminders, they didn't turn it on. So if that happens, you will not be getting any points for your tests because it has to be that you are present in the classroom. So for the first time, I gave you an excuse, but for the next test, you have to have your video on. Otherwise, once again, I will not be able to give you any points for the test. Okay. But you have to let me know that you want to take it and state your reason of why you missed the first one. Because I will create and I will assign it only to you. Otherwise, you will not be able, to take it at all. And once again, this is the only time that I can offer. Usually all our makeups were on Thursdays during the club hours. So the club hours is when you never have a class running from 12 to 2, but from 12 to 1, I have another meeting that I have to attend. So it will be at 1 p.m. And I'll send the email tonight, maybe tomorrow morning out, just to remind you about this. Now, About the homeworks. So for today, the homework is the homework number 5. Let me just scroll it. Oh, it's not scrolling. Okay. So the Zoom is acting on me again. So I'll just pick it up. Uh, Starting from today, the homework due dates are changing slightly. So for example, today we have our class meeting on Monday. The due date will not be next Monday. It will be this Friday, February 26th. So make sure that you pay attention to the due dates. Now, the class that we will have on Wednesday, the due date will be next Monday. So I'm giving you less than a week to work on the homeworks, because what I found out is that the homework number 4, which was due after the test, if you were to work on it before it, you will know the situation with the set builder notation, you would email me, you would be prepared for the test. So we want all our tests to have all your homeworks closed before then, right? So the time from Monday till Friday, 4 days, and similar from Wednesday to Monday, like approximately 4 days, should be enough for us to work on our homeworks, right? It will also keep you better with the pace with the class, so that you will start working on the homeworks as soon as possible, preferably after the class, maybe later on, or maybe the next day. So these are the two things that I wanted to let you know. And then if you don't have any questions, you're free to go, and I'll check my messages to be so that to make sure that I reply to all the questions that were asked. Okay. So let me pull it up. I know that my controls are already frozen.